when I'm asked, would you like to supersize that meal? I'm going to say back to them, philanthropically, yes, I would.
Welcome to Hockey and Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Hockey and Podcast, the podcast where we talk about hockey and whatever's interesting to us. I'm your host, Jay, and as always, sitting next to me is my lovely wife, Jen, who is my co-host. Jen, how are you today?
I am amazing. I am so looking forward to this one. I did a lot of homework on it because I had no clue what I was going to say. So I think I've got it down. We'll see how it goes. Wish me luck.
Well, the one good thing about it is at least you know if you perform great, you're going to get my admiration, which is always a good thing. But if you perform poorly, you can be replaced. Just remember that.
Oh, honey.
We run a tight ship here.
Oh, honey. You know nobody can replace me. Come on now.
That is so true. So, Jen, we've gone through 2 episodes so far, and I think overall we've had a lot of fun. Wouldn't you agree?
I would definitely agree. It's been fun. It's a lot of work. It's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, but it is fun.
And we're learning new things.
I am. I don't know what's happening with you, but I mean, I'm
learning as well, too.
Okay.
For instance, last week we talked about the boy aquarium and what that was.
Okay.
Now, I will say since then, I've learned an awful lot about the boy aquarium. It's an interesting topic that we're going to have to revisit and really give it its due. Because apparently, there's a ton of people out there that love this genre.
Well, this whole thing is news to me as well. So, hey, you know what? We're old. That's what happens.
We're not old. We're seasoned veterans.
Okay, that's a better way to put it.
All right, Jen, I'm going to break down what we're going to talk about today, and then we're going to get right into it.
Sounds good.
Right off the bat, we're going to start off with some quick NHL news. Got a couple of stories that I'm going to share with y'all. And then in our first segment, we're going to look at players who are either blazing or lackluster in the last 2 weeks. So we'll just get an idea of who's really turning up the heat so far early on in the season and who is being unremarkable so far in the last 2 weeks. In our final segment, the "and" segment, we're going to look at some NHL players and what they do outside the rink, specifically when it comes to charities. So we're going to look at players who not only perform on the ice, but also perform off the ice. All that and some interesting conversation between 2 seasoned veterans. So, Jen, kicking things off, NHL news.
Do tell.
Okay. So right off the bat, for me, the biggest news story of the week comes from Chicago. Now, the Chicago Blackhawks have a player named Connor Bedard. Have you heard of him?
Just a little unknown player, Connor Bedard. Let me give that yeah, I think I know him just a wee bit.
Unfortunately, Connor Bedard's going to be missing some time.
Yep.
He was placed on the IR, or the injured reserve list, on Monday. This is because of an upper body injury that he sustained. Now, the move is actually retroactive to Friday the 12th, so again, he gets a few more days added on there, when the injury occurred during the final seconds of their game against the St. Louis Blues. Now, let's look at as far as the injury detail and maybe the timeline as far as when he might be back. So the injury itself, as I mentioned, was an upper body injury. But specifically, it looks more like a shoulder injury. He was holding on to that shoulder. He was in pain. He went right off the ice. Not a good sign when you see that, especially for your number 1 player on your team. Now, the status is, right now, he's just resting. The team said they will not reevaluate him until after the new year. So there's something there. If they're saying we're going to give him a couple of weeks to kind of heal up, maybe then we'll figure out what we're going to do.
But we don't know specifics at this point.
Not yet.
Okay.
Now, the bad word, surgery has come out. People are asking, is Bedard going to go under the knife? Right now, they're saying he does not require surgery. So that's a good thing. Now, that's good because it kind of maybe gives us a little bit of insight that it's not as serious an injury as maybe some of the people think. So with that in mind, when it comes to his potential return, I kind of looked it up, and per the injured reserve rules, he is eligible to return as early as Saturday, December 19th. Okay, so that's a good thing. He can come back on the 19th. It looks like the coaching staff has actually kind of mentioned that he's probably not going to return until after the new year, which means he's going to miss about 2+ weeks of games in December. Now, again, the Blackhawks did not place him on long-term IR, which is a really good hope for a quicker return in those few weeks, rather than, say, months that he could be gone. So, Jen, what kind of impact do you think this is going to have on the Blackhawks, missing their top star for the next 2 weeks?
Well, I guess that remains to be seen. I mean, hopefully they can pull it together.
The other part they have to think about is Connor Bedard was lighting it up. He was their top scorer and points getter. He was leading them with 44 points. He had 19 goals and 25 assists in 31 games. And Jen, math, here we go. He has 44 points in 31 games. What is he? He's over a point per game player.
You got to know by now. My brain doesn't work like that. Come on.
We're going to get it to work like that. If we have to keep hitting it into the side of your head, you're going to understand the phrase point per game player and why it's a good thing. One other thing we have to think about when it comes to Connor Bedard is this. In a few months, we have the Olympics coming up. Now, the vague timeline that we mentioned about his return as far as when he could play is now kind of mixing in as far as will he be able to play in the 2026 Olympics in Milan.
Yeah, but I heard there's an issue with that whole thing too. So,
which we will discuss.
When are we going to be discussing that?
Oh, you'll see.
Okay.
Oh, you shall see.
All righty.
Team Canada has to present a roster by December 31st. His injury, based off the timeline that we just discussed, kind of puts him on that bubble of maybe he doesn't go play in Italy with Team Canada. Thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are going to just kind of collide with what I was just talking about, that it may not matter anyway, but we shall see.
Say it does matter. Let's say there's a team and they're going over there. Do you think that it's going to be something that he's going to miss out on? And that's, again, we're talking Olympic gold potentially here.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I always have a weird feeling about having NHL players involved in the Olympics to begin with. So that's a kind of just a really weird area for me.
I would say outside of the Stanley Cup, when we talk about players and kind of what they want out of their careers, every single player wants to win the Stanley Cup, given, number one. But I would think a close second is, if you ask them, they would probably say a gold medal. Now, scoring titles and awards and things like that can also be thrown into the mix, but a lot of players go back to, as we talked about the other day in our memorable moments, Sidney Crosby's golden goal that helped win the goal for Canada. You talk to a lot of Canadians. How we feel about Miracle on Ice, that's how they feel about that golden goal with Sidney Crosby.
Fair enough.
Connor Bedard might not be able to have that opportunity. I think for him, that's going to be something that hopefully he can come back for, because if he doesn't, it's going to weigh on him for a number of years after that if he can't play in the Olympics. But now, here's what you alluded to. There's a potential, I shouldn't say a potential, there is an issue with the hockey arena that's being built over in Italy. What's happening, if you haven't heard and you've been under a rock, is that the venue that's being built in Milan is behind schedule, with the completion currently expected to be done on February 26th. That's just 3 days before the women's tournament begins. Now, they're throwing the word behind schedule up. Have you seen the pictures? Behind is not the word.
Oh, no. I have not seen the pictures.
Oh, it's not good. I highly recommend that everyone go check out where this arena, as far as completion, was at. And we're talking about, we're at the end of December almost here. There's an issue. There's definitely an issue. Now, it's so much of an issue that Gary Bettman, he's the NHL commissioner, in case you didn't know that, it's disappointing. But on top of that, the disappointment is this. There's a dimensional error in the rink that's being built. A typical NHL standard rink is 200 feet. Well, the one in Italy is only 196 feet. It's a few feet short compared to what they play on the NHL today. So let's stop there and let me ask you, do you think those players are going to care that that rink is a little shorter, or do you think it matters to them?
I think they're going to care, and I think it matters to them. I don't know what kind of an actual impact it's going to have on the game, but if these guys have been playing on standard NHL-sized rink for their entire careers, I would think that those couple of feet will make a big difference.
Think of it this way. You just watched Connor McDavid play our Bruins last night, correct?
Right. Yep.
You saw the difference in his ability, his speed, compared to the rest of the NHL players, right?
Yeah.
He's above them.
Of course.
That's him skating on a 200-foot rink. If we shorten it up, does it help him, do you think, or does it hurt him as far as how, like I said, his style of game? What do you think?
I would think it would hurt him just because of the simple fact that, I mean, when he's flying down the ice, say he's got a breakaway, he's counting on it being everything being where it's supposed to be. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it hurts him a little bit from this aspect. One of the things they mentioned last night that the Bruins did relatively well when it came to him in 5-on-5 play was when he gets going, you have to, A, get a body on him, and B, you have to kind of push him to a point in or an area of the ice where there's more of your team's jersey. So again, it kind of clogs him up. Now, we've seen it where teams have done that and he just busts right through and scores a miraculous goal. But that, again, being on a 200-foot rink, now you're talking about it's a little bit smaller. I know we're only talking a few feet, but that's how I would say precise these players are in their talent. In that, if the rink's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit easier to, A, catch him, because, again, there's only so much ice. And then, B, smaller ice surface means you can kind of congest more areas than on a 200-foot rink. Again, it's only a few feet.
Well, Jay, let me ask you this. Do we know why it's short?
Because they're Italians.
We're Italian, too. I wouldn't be talking...
That's true. That is true. Funny enough, so I work for a company where the owner and the CFO are both Italian, from the motherland, if you would. And I asked them that question, what's your take on this? And they both answered the same way. They said, when you have to do anything in the country of Italy, when it comes to building, number one, getting permits takes forever. Mm-hmm. Their system is not like ours here in the state where you can walk into an office, get a permit, and walk out. It takes a very long time, and it's relatively costly. That's number one, they said. Number two, when it comes to the actual labor portion of it, they work very differently than we do here in the States. We experience that. When Italians go to a day of work, Jen, what did we witness when we went over there?
Really? We're going to go down that road. Well, I don't remember specifically what I saw, but I do remember my grandfather. My grandfather was off the boat, and there was a lot of, let's have a beer, let's have the kind of just casually getting the work done. There's no sense of urgency.
They do get started early, as we saw, so they kind of get their day going.
Right.
But as you recall, a few hours in, well, now it's time to have our espresso and our pastry. Then, if you recall, when 12 o'clock rolls around, what happens? Everybody goes home for lunch for at least 2 hours. That's something that we heard from many Italians over there. They really enjoy their home lunch, break, if you would. 2-hour break. Come back from that, did some work. Usually like us, 5, 6 o'clock, they're done. But what my bosses said to me was when it comes to labor, they work at a very different pace as well. So we talked about government permitting. That's one thing. And as far as how they work, it's just different from us. Not a bad thing, just different. But when we're talking about you have to build a hockey arena that's supposed to seat about 16,000 people for the Olympics in a couple of months, and it's looking like it is, it's just not a good thing. It doesn't feel like a good thing.
I really wonder what the plan is. If it doesn't happen, if they do not get it done on time, is there a fallback? I mean, what? There's nothing. There's nothing.
So according to the organizers of the Olympics over there, they've actually admitted there's no plan B. And if the 16,000 seat arena is not finished on time, the big concern is that the NHL players won't show up. Gary Bettman has already said that. He said if this thing isn't ready, we're not going to send those guys there.
Well, there'd be no point.
Now, my next question is there another venue they can put it in? Doesn't sound like it. If they can't get this thing done, are we basically saying there might not be Olympic hockey
at the
so
strange.
Winter Olympics?
That's so strange.
I guess we'll just have to tune in and find out.
I guess so.
In the drama, as the meatball turns around the Italian hockey rink, that's shorter than the NHL rink.
Yeah.
Jen, there's our news. Unfortunately, it was kind of two bad stories. But now we're going to move into our first segment on the hockey side, where we're going to look at a couple of players who we think are blazing in the last couple of weeks as far as their performance, and maybe one that's a little unremarkable, again, lackluster. I'm a gentleman. We're going to go with ladies first. So why don't you hit us up with your first blazing player?
Well, I'm going to go with Connor McDavid. He's number 2, leading goals. He's got 7.
In the last 2 weeks.
11 assists for a total of 18 points. Now, his year stats, 35 in 35 games, is still second behind McKinnon. He has 21 assists. Or no, rather, he's got 21 goals, 37 assists for a total of 58 points. Now, in comparison, because I'm watching Connor McDavid and McKinnon, because they're really neck and neck. Now, McKinnon has 33 games played with 28 goals and 30 assists for a total of 58. They both have 58 points. But McKinnon has played 2 less games than McDavid. We'll see what happens with them. I'm curious to see where they wind up in the halfway mark in January. I think that McDavid is on track to have a more productive year than last year. But again, we'll see who winds up coming out with some better stats, McKinnon or McDavid. But I am watching the two of them. I'm curious. It's really fun to see the two top being so close. And I have a feeling they're going to flip-flop quite a bit during the year.
Now, going back to your weekly stats, can you hit me with that again? Games and points. What were those totals again?
For the last two weeks, he's got 7 goals and 11 assists.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think Connor McDavid, right now, I think majority of the people would say he's the number 1 best player in the league. But there's been some people, even myself, who have said maybe we could have a discussion that maybe McKinnon has that honor. Maybe another discussion for another day. We got to witness Connor McDavid firsthand against our Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't go so well. He was flying all over the ice. Now, the Bruins did kind of keep it close, but it did slip away, and they did lose in the end 3-1. But whenever you get an opportunity to watch Connor McDavid play, you take that opportunity. And the bonus to that, you get to watch potentially the number 2 or 3 player in the league as well with Leon Draisaitl. So it's kind of a buy one, get one free when you watch the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Tristan Jarry played pretty well. Hopefully maybe they start to turn it around. Maybe they become that contender that everyone thinks they should have been at the beginning of the season.
Well, like we said before, if that doesn't happen, he's going to be looking to switch things up.
Well, again, he signed a 2-year contract on a sweetheart deal for the Edmonton Oilers. What that tells me is, okay, I'll give you 2 more years. After that, I may take my talents on the road. All right, Jen, so that was a pretty good one. I mean, the smart thing to do is take the number 1 guy in the last 2 weeks' performance. That's a no-brainer. I went a little bit down that chart, and my player is a player who I just love his name, and it's Alex DeBrincat. I love Alex DeBrincat, the big cat as they call him. He's been performing pretty well. In the last 2 weeks, he's played in 9 games where he has 8 goals, 5 assists for 13 points. Jen, what does that make him?
Fantastic.
Okay, that makes him over a point-per-game player.
Why do you do that
Gonna drive
to
it
me?
home.
Stop
Gonna drive
doing
it
that.
home.
Pain in the neck.
He's actually at a 1.44 per game. He's almost at 1.5 points per game, which is a wonderful stat to hit if you can. Now, DeBrincat's been really instrumental with the Red Wings' success as it stands right now. They're sitting up the top there looking down at everybody else and has helped them with 6 wins in their last 8 games. Alex DeBrincat has had 9 power play goals for the season, which ranks him up in the top echelon of the NHL. Now, he's playing right now on the number 2 line as far as 5-on-5 play with Andrew Kopp and either John Leonard or James Van Riemsdyk, or JVR, as we like to call him in the NHL world, a ex-Bruin, by the way. But more importantly, he's playing on the number 1 power play unit with such talent as JVR, Dylan Larkin, their captain, Lucas Raymond, and Maurice Sider, a couple of young studs who are going to do great things in the NHL. This power play unit in the last 10 games has combined for 20 points. That's a pretty good stat, right?
Sounds good to me.
It's good. Now, here's a fun fact I'm going to give you about the big cat, or Alex DeBrincat. A fun fact about Alex DeBrincat is that he's a big fan of Disney's High School Musical. He enjoys the soundtrack and even sings along. Despite his fiery on-ice persona, he shows a surprisingly soft and fun-loving side off the ice.
Wow, it sounds like a personal ad.
What do you think about your hockey players listening to or watching High School Musical?
I got nothing. I'm sorry. Whatever they decide to do on their time off, more power to them. I got nothing.
Okay. That's cool. I mean, we've heard some other weird things that some of these players do. I guess High School Musical wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for a player to be doing.
No.
It keeps him off the crack, if anything. He gets to kind of relax, and the last thing you want is your NHL players on the crack. So NHL players, stay off the crack.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, Jen, that was my blazing player, if you would.
Okay.
Why don't you get into someone who's been a little more lackluster?
All right.
And hasn't been performing.
All right. This is painful. This is really painful. Alexander Ovechkin.
Oh boy, we just lost a lot of listeners.
Well, these fans of Alexander, they must know within the last 2 weeks, he's got 0 goals, 2 assists for a total of 2 points. So his year stats out of 34 games played, 14 goals, 17 assists. Why is this happening to this man? Huh? Let's see. We got his shooting percentage. It's lower than usual. And, admittedly, he is struggling. It's lower than normal shots on goal. And, let's just bring in the idea that he's 40. I mean, he's on the ice less time. He's averaging under 18 minutes per game, and that's among the lowest total minutes per game in his entire career. So, I mean, there has been speculation about this season being his last. He doesn't really want to talk about it. He keeps pushing the subject away, and I can't blame him. The man is still a strong man. He still wants to be out there, but, he's not in his prime, and they're looking at all of this, and they're reducing his time, and they're going for quality over quantity. I mean, overall, the Caps are giving him the time he needs, to make a decision on what he does next, whether or not he's going to stick it out or he's going to, call it. They're trying to maximize his usage in his quote unquote twilight years of his career. I know he wants to be out there constantly. It must be very hard for a guy who's been in the game for as long as he's been to have to take a kind of like a little bit of a back seat. I mean, because...
Do you think another reason for this, sorry to interrupt you, is because their thought is, look, we're going to make the playoffs. We want him as fresh as he can be for the playoffs?
There hasn't been any talk of that so far. I don't think so. I don't think that they feel the need to rest him. He's a beast. I just think he's underperforming, but it's understandable. It's not like he's, just being soft or anything like that. He's getting older. It's getting harder and harder. This is one of the first seasons where he's been this quote unquote off. They're really trying to curb his push to be out on the ice. He is the only NHL regular to not start in a single shift in the defensive zone. Still, he is around 1 point per game. So he's still, keeping up. My opinion on it, I don't think he should retire. I mean, they're talking back and forth. People are talking about whether or not that's going to happen. He's not talking about it. He's being very tight-lipped about it. But my opinion is that I don't think he should retire. If he's still got 1 point per game, I mean, you can't say he's got a lot of years in him. There's not a lot of years left, and he knows that. The stats tell us that he's slowing down, but he is still holding his own. To me, it doesn't seem like he's close to retiring. I mean, I feel like the man would fight every inch of the way, to stay in the game. But I think once he's frustrated enough with his inability to perform, will be what eventually causes him to, take a seat. So we'll see what happens. He's going to be he'll be making the decision to stay or go. But at this point, he's not saying anything.
I mean, the Capitals as an organization are doing pretty well right now. I mean, they have 19 wins, 11 losses for 42 points. That puts them at number 6 in the league overall. So they're close to the top up there. So right now they're sitting pretty, like I said, and maybe the thought is he got the record, took a lot out of him last year.
Yeah.
Maybe we take some time, like you said, let him rest up.
See.
We just want him to take shots. We don't need him skating in the defensive zone.
Right. That's smart. It's huge. That's smart.
Yeah. So, like you said, if their thought is they're going to make the playoffs, I'd rather have an Alexander Ovechkin who isn't leading the league in on-ice time. I want him close to the bottom, so when we get to the playoffs, that's when I get the best Alexander Ovechkin.
That's if he can, give what we're used to seeing him give. We'll see. It's hard to tell what the actual reason is, but I know, his on-ice time is down. Is definitely down. I mean, like you said, they could be resting him and making sure that he's going to be prepared for Stanley Cup, but I guess time will tell. But he is definitely one that kind of stood out to me this year. And no disrespect whatsoever. I'm not going to call him out and be like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. First of all, the man is scary.
He's the all-time NHL goal-scoring leader.
Yeah. But we'll see. I am looking forward to see what happens during the playoffs.
Quick side story. A while back, I forget, a few years ago, I don't remember the exact year, you and I went to a Bruins game where they played the Washington Capitals. And if you recall, we were at our hotel checking in and we had to wait. We were delayed. And the reason for that was what, Jen? Why were we delayed in checking into our hotel in Boston? Do you recall?
I don't remember. No. You know what? I remember we were there in the same. I remember seeing a bunch of the guys, but I don't remember
who.
It was was it the Capitals?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I remember seeing a bunch of the guys. I don't remember if we saw him. Actually,
So we
go
did.
ahead. Yeah.
So the story is the hotel told us that there was a large group who had extended checkout and they were starting to, come out. It's about 3:00 in the afternoon. And all of a sudden we notice a bunch of pretty good looking guys in suits walking through the lobby.
Can't miss them.
Well, right away you pick up. I picked up a couple of players. It's the Washington Capitals. So we fortunately were staying at the hotel that they were in the night before. So we got to watch a lot of the Capitals walk out to the bus to go to the arena. One of the last players to come down the stairs, or through the elevator, I should say, is Alexander Ovechkin. Now we're sitting in the lobby. Here he comes. He's got an incredibly tailored gray suit on. He's on his cell phone. And I remember saying to you, I was geeking out a little bit. I was fanboying out saying, I think I need a picture with Alexander Ovechkin. Now, here's the funny part. As he got closer, he got bigger and he got more intimidating.
Yeah.
And as he's walking by, you could get the vibe that like he didn't want to be bothered. And look, I'm not one of those people. Look, I mean, if I see, him, a Bobby Orr, a Brad Pitt, yeah, I'm going to be taken back by it. But I don't always feel the need to tell them or talk to them or get a picture or get an autograph. If the moment is right, I would do it. Well, the moment in my mind wasn't right. He was just not looking like he wanted to be bothered. And I don't want to go up there and bother a scary-looking Russian in a finely tailored suit right before an NHL game. Because with my luck, he would take it. I had Bruins hat on and all that. He would take that personally, and he would have went to that game, and he would have destroyed us. Now, fortunately, I didn't do that because the Bruins did win that game. And that's a good thing because we paid money, we were there, and they won. And that's what you want. So there's a little Alexander Ovechkin, how because I didn't tick him off, the Bruins were able to come through with the victory. So welcome, Boston.
We've actually been pretty fortunate to every time that we've gone up there to Boston. We've seen quite a few just in the everyday, walking down the street. And the one thing that always strikes me, I mean, they're not on skates at that point. They're just, they're walking around in their jeans, doing normal things. But you walk by them and you can pick them out of anywhere because they're enormous. These guys are all huge guys. There's no short people at all.
We have some pretty good stories about players we've met, which we're going to definitely have to talk about in another episode. Especially, there's one that kind of comes to my mind that just blew your mind. And again, we'll share that in another episode.
Okie doke.
All right, so you're ticking off Alexander Ovechkin, saying, "Okay, dude, you're not performing. You stay."
No, I would never have respect. Come on. Okay, what about you?
Honestly, I had somebody else, but I changed my mind after watching the game between the Edmonton Oilers and the Boston Bruins. Now, the player I'm going with is ex-Boston Bruin, Trent Frederic. Now, Trent Frederic was a Boston Bruin for many years, but he was traded to the Edmonton Oilers last year, and currently in this season, in the last 2 weeks, Trent Frederic, ex-Bruin, is performing very unremarkably. He's actually playing on the first line with Connor McDavid majority of the time. Now, you would think, Jen, that just the fact that he's skating with that guy, he would get points, right? Connor McDavid, he's got how many? He's leading the league in the last 2 weeks, as you mentioned. Here's a guy who's playing with him for a decent amount of time. Well, in 8 games, Trent Frederic has 0 goals and 1 assist. Now, if you do some quick math, that's 1 point in the last 8 games.
That's
so
awful.
he is definitely a below 1 point per game player. Now, I have to say this. Trent Frederick isn't touted as a huge goal scorer or points producer. That's a given. But still, I mean, Connor McDavid should be able to bounce pucks off you like he does for Zach Hyman to give him a bunch of points and a bunch of goals. Trent's just not in the right position. He's not in the right place, so nothing's happening. Again, we mentioned he has 1 point in the last 2 weeks. What's even scarier is his on-ice time. He's only averaging 10 minutes of ice time per game, which is more of a bottom 6 role type of player. But the Edmonton Oilers traded for this player last year, and then they gave him a pretty big contract. Now, usually when an NHL team gives you a big contract, it means they believe in you to fulfill a role, to perform. So Trent Frederick signed an 8-year, $30.8 million contract extension with the Oilers in June of 25. Now, it carries a $3.85 million average annual value, which means that goes up against the cap. He also has a no movement clause in his contract for the first few years, and then it's modified to a some teams he would be willing to go to clause type of thing, as well as bonuses built into this contract. So, Jen, if you pay someone $30.8 million, you think, hey, you got to do something.
Top tier.
Right? You got to do something. I'm not saying you got to be a top goal scorer. I'm not saying you got to be, better than Connor McDavid, but fill a role. And the only role he's filling right now is he's taking up space on the bus.
Yeah.
Now, the funny part is Trent Frederick's last goal was scored on November 20th, and it was the only goal in an overtime loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So 1 goal in that time, like we said, since November. I think the word dud is starting to come into the discussion.
Oh, boy.
Now, as you can tell, I'm a little bit, I don't know what the word is. I got my claws are out.
Yeah, you sound a little spicy there.
But here's why. As mentioned, he was a Bruin for many years, and he was, okay at best. He had 1 good year where he put some points in. Outside of that, he was just a bottom 6, kind of tough guy. And I said for many years, they needed to trade him, and they needed to trade Jake DeBrusk. Well, they did that eventually. They traded both of them away because they just didn't want to give them contract extensions.
Right.
Now, what the Bruins got in return for Trent Frederick, which I do want to talk about another time, the Bruins general manager, Don Sweeney, takes a lot of heat. Last year, he made some of the greatest moves I think I've seen in a while, and getting rid of Trent Frederick and not paying him $30 million a year is a huge move.
Right.
So I want to applaud Sweeney for that. Now, again, we'll talk about the Bruins. The Bruins aren't the most spectacular team in the league, but these are the types of moves you have to make to build Stanley Cup contenders. You cannot carry dead weight
You got that
in
right.
the NHL anymore. And Trent Frederick is kind of trending towards dead weight, unfortunately.
And what's his contract about?
As far as how long?
How long, yeah.
It's 8 years.
Gosh.
8 years.
Wow.
I mean, if this guy's putting in a goal a month, you've got him for 8 more years. And guess what? No other team's going to take him.
No.
Unless you eat the whole contract type of scenarios. So there's my unremarkable ex-Bruin of a player, Trent Frederick, who, again, if he wasn't playing with Connor McDavid, I wouldn't put him on a list. I'd say, look, he's not a top 6 guy. Why do they have him there at times? I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
So that's why he's my unremarkable player of the day. You said when we did this segment, you wanted to do a positive, a negative, but you wanted to end on the positive side. So we're going to end on a player each on the positive side.
Yep.
Players who are not duds. They're blazing. So, Jen, who's your next blazing player?
I don't know if I want to go, not blazing, but I love me some Marchand. We know this. So within the last 2 weeks, how's he doing? He's got 4 goals, 6 assists for a total of 10 points. He's doing great. He's been a vital cog in the Panther machine. His year stats are 19 goals and 18 assists for a total of 37 points. So he's holding his own. Last year, his totals, he had 29 goals and 38 assists for a total of 67 points. So I'm really proud of him. I'm so happy that he's doing as well as he's doing in Florida. And I mean, I think he could exceed his previous year totals. It's possible. I'm here for it. And I'll be rooting for him. He's, like I said, once a Bruin, always a Bruin. At least, with guys like him, with the chutzpah. He's somebody that I'm going to stick with and keep watching. And I'm super proud that he came from Boston and he's carrying over his talent into the Panthers. He's looking great.
Now, two things. I think you mentioned he's kind of performing well points-wise, goals, assists. Part of it, too, is the Florida Panthers are without their two top players, Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
They'll be back at some point. But he's basically doing this without, he's kind of now the focused guy that other teams are focusing in on because of the talent level there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still performing.
And it's funny, when he was here, I didn't really, I don't know, maybe because we've got Pasta and, I'm watching other players and everything. And I was like, he's average. Oh, and that's how I always looked at Marchand. But, his attitude and his willingness to give it all has always been something that has put him in the, he's up there for me. And so the fact that he's, doing as well as he is now, I'm just thrilled.
It's a shame because I agree with you. Back in the day, he was under a pretty big shadow.
Yeah.
Zdeno Chara is there.
Oh, yeah.
Patrice Bergeron's there. I mean, there's your leaders right there. But he was a top guy. The locker room loved him. He performed, like you said, he did whatever he needed to do on the ice. I was sad for him in the sense that he finally got to be the captain of the Bruins. And it just didn't work out as well as it should have.
Right.
I understand why he had to leave. I applaud that he won the cup with Florida. He was a vital piece in them winning that. I think it would have been a lot tougher for them to win that without him. The nice part about it is then, hey, look, that city, that state, they fell in love with him, which you would. They hated him when he was up here with us.
Yep.
But now they love him because, you see him when, he's basically partying with the Stanley Cup for like 3-4 weeks nonstop. But then he comes home and then he's out in the community and he's a leader on that team. I think he's holding that team together in the absence of those two players we mentioned before. Now, with that being said, Bruins, Panthers in the playoffs, that's a tough one for me because I like watching him play with Florida. I want him to succeed.
Yeah.
But not against my Bruins.
I don't know. I would love it. I would love it. I mean,
that's what I want to see. But again, I think it stings a little bit deeper if they beat us.
Yeah.
And he's on that team. If it's a great series, that's one thing. But like we said before, you love players that are on your team. He's a Bruin to me.
Yeah.
I understand players have to move on, but he'll always be a Bruin. He'll retire a Bruin in my mind.
Hey, but has he licked anybody down there?
Not that I know. Maybe when he won the cup and he was running around half in the bag. I'm sure in one bar down in Florida somewhere, somebody's got a story where Brad Marchand walked in with the Stanley Cup and licked him.
Yep.
Or them, or whatever the case may be.
Come on, to me, that kind of stuff is iconic. I don't know. Just, I kind of like him more that he's not here. I don't know. I think just because to me, he's standing out a little bit more than he was here because, like you said, he was overshadowed a lot. And to see him doing as well as he is, I'm just happy. I'm just happy for him.
For a perfect transition, I'm going to go to my player now, who happens to play on the Florida Panthers as well. Oh. So great minds think alike. Okay. The player who I think has been performing remarkably, not unremarkably, remarkably, is Carter Verhaeghe.
Verhaeghe.
Another cool name player.
Yep.
Now, Carter Verhaeghe in the last 8 games for the Florida Panthers has 7 goals, 4 assists for 11 points. Jen, making him a...
top goal scorer.
Oh, we've got a lot of work to do. 11 points in 8 games, more than a point per game player. 1.38 to be actually precise. We'll get it. It's only episode 3. We'll get you talking lingo and understanding all the dumb, weird facts that us hockey nerds don't pay attention to.
I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start my sentences and then stop halfway and see if you can fill in my sentences.
You've gotten this far in life being the hot girl. Well, not on this podcast.
Oh, yes.
You have to bring it. Hey. So the good looks are part of it, but we want.
You're already in the middle of all of this. You got the cards, you got your knowledge that, hey, I'm over here scrambling to do the research on all of these players that I know very little about. So, hey, you got to give me that.
Let's get back to Carter Verhaeghe and his remarkable play. Now, with him being over a point per game player, that's a beautiful thing. And as we mentioned with Marchand, he's playing on a team that's without a couple of stars that they're, again, expected to make another run at a cup this year. When it comes to Verhaeghe, he's been on a scoring surge lately. He's been highly productive. He's actually leading the Panthers in points over the last 8 games. So he's producing for him. But he's also doing it consistently, too. Now, he missed 1 game for personal reasons just before this 2-week period, but he has scored a goal in 5 of his last 8 games since returning for that, so in that 5-week period. The team has been on a pretty good streak right now. They kind of started off a little muddy in the season, but with the Carter Verhaeghe and Brad Marchand's help, they've been able to kind of right the ship a little bit and get back on track to their playoff road, if you would, for this year. Now, he actually had a 2-goal game in December 6th, which was his first multi-goal game of the season. Now, Jen, why I brought up Carter Verhaeghe is this. I love Carter Verhaeghe. I think Carter Verhaeghe is a very underrated player in the NHL today as far as his talent. And I think part of the reason is...
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think he's underrated. But
well, I'm going to tell you why I think this.
Okay.
Part of the reason is when you're on a team where, let's just go down the list. There's Barkov, there's Tkachuk, there's Sergei Bobrovsky, there's Brad Marchand. Does Carter Verhaeghe's name jump any of those guys when you're talking recognition or anything like that? No, right?
I don't know. I kind of disagree.
You think Carter Verhaeghe's a well-known name in the NHL?
I think he's getting there. And the reason why I say that is because if you're taking an average listener, right? I am the average listener. I'm not you. I'm the average listener. And Verhaeghe, I hear his name a lot, which means he's moving. He's moving. He's doing something out there. He's not standing still. So I disagree with you on that because I hear his name every time they're on. He's moving. So there's my 2 cents.
Okay, there you go. She disagrees with me. Well, we know who's sleeping on the couch tonight.
He is.
So, well, I agree with you. I think there are people that do know him because, let's put it this way, when a team like Florida gets to the Stanley Cup for a couple of years in a row and wins it, that name's being thrown, on ABC, ESPN. So, yeah, you do hear. My feeling is you put Carter Verhaeghe on another team. Let's say, let me think of a team off the top of my head here. All right, I got a team for you. Let's say you put Carter Verhaeghe on the New Jersey Devils. Now, the New Jersey Devils do have Jack Hughes, who is their number 1 guy.
Yeah.
But then it kind of falls off a little bit. They do have Nico Hischier. They do have Jasper Bratt. But now we're talking about a lot of people going, who are those 2 guys?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you collect their hockey cards, you may not even know who they are.
Yeah.
And I know somebody who collects their hockey cards, and I don't even know if he knows how good they are. You throw Carter Verhaeghe on that team, I think he can jump both of those guys, be right under Jack Hughes, and now he's playing on the top power play line, whereas right now, Carter Verhaeghe is playing top power play with Florida, but that's because they're missing 2 players.
Right.
They come back, he's probably dropping down to that second power play. He's probably now, instead of playing on line number 1, he's playing on line number 2 for 5-on-5. Again, it's not because of his talent. It's just that they have more talent than that people, or I should say, they have so much talent that good players have to fall down the depth chart a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
On the Devils, he's right at the top. He's a household name in the New Jersey metropolitan area. And with the Devils making, say, the playoffs, maybe producing, Carter Verhaeghe's going to be the guy that would be the name you would recognize. So that's why I say he's a little bit underrated. I love Carter Verhaeghe's style of play. I wish he was a Bruin. He would fit in perfectly with
so
what we
too.
do.
I agree.
Let's take the Bruins as an example. Carter Verhaeghe comes to the Bruins. I see him playing on line number 1.
Yeah, me too.
And the nice thing about it is, okay, you're going to pair him up with Pastrnak and Lindholm. That's a solid number 1 line I'd put up against anybody in the NHL. The nice thing is then you can put Geekie, who we love, right? We love us some Geekie.
Mm-hmm.
You put him on line number 2 on the 5-on-5. Now he's playing with Pavel Zacha, who can perform. He can set people up and he can score. Now you got 2 very solid lines with, again, great goal scoring, great playmaking ability. Oh, by the way, now your power play unit, David Pastrnak, Morgan Geekie, Carter Verhaeghe, Lindholm in the middle, and whatever defenseman they want to throw back there. Wow, I would pay a lot of shekels to see that.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, there's my rant. There's my Carter Verhaeghe as my remarkable player that we're going to end this segment with. So, Jen, we had a couple of players who are really performing, and we have 2 that are really not. One of them being the grade 8, who we think is going to turn it around, though, right?
We'll see. I mean, you can never count him out. He's an amazing guy, so we'll see.
You can't count out the grade 8. All right, Jem. Well, that will end our first segment. But before we go into segment 2, Jem, I want to talk to you about a great website that sponsors this podcast, and that is My Card Post.
What is My Card Post?
I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
My Card Post is a place you could go on the internet. You've heard the internet, it's still around, and from what I hear, it's still performing pretty well. But on the internet, you go to this site called My Card Post, and you can see a bunch of beautiful sports cards, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, but the best sport of all, hockey cards. You can also see some Pokemon cards as well as other things on there. Now, this site allows you to buy these cards. This site allows you, if you want, to sign up and sell your cards. And you can trade your cards with other people on this site, which is something the big platforms don't do.
But I bet you he's going to take a big chunk of whatever the price is, right?
How dare you say that? Not Mark. Mark will not take your money. As much as you want to give it to him when you sell a card, he won't take it. He's not gross like the big platforms that take sometimes double-digit percentages of your sale. All Mark asks from you from My Card Post is sign up for a subscription. And the highest subscription is about $20 a month. Not such a bad deal. But every card you sell, Jen, you get to keep it all.
All of it.
All of it.
Wow.
We give examples on the show all the time. I'll give you an example, Jen. If I sell you a card for $1,000, guess how much money ends up in my account?
Again with the math. I'm thinking 1,000.
You are correct. Mark is a capitalist, but he's not a greedy capitalist. He is building a platform for the hobby. I applaud him. I've supported him from day one, and I support him moving on from this day and hope he's a huge success because what he's built has truly changed the trading card market. Go check out My Card Post. As mentioned, the best place to go buy, sell, trade cards on the internet where you get to keep all your money. And keeping all your money nowadays is a good thing because the last time I checked, the price of milk is not going down. So My Card Post, a place that'll help you save some money to go buy some milk. All right, Jen, shout out to My Card Post, a wonderful sponsor of this show. And I'll tell you right now, when you meet Mark, you're going to fall in love with this guy. He's just a wonderful human being. And that's what we need in this world, more wonderful human beings. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say yes.
Let's talk about wonderful human beings. Now, we all like to talk about our NHL players as far as their stats and how they perform and how many games they win and cups they bring us. That's the joy that they bring us when it comes to the game. But there's NHL players who actually bring joy to people for other reasons. And what I'm talking about is there's a lot of NHL players who do a lot of wonderful things outside of the ice rink when it comes to, say, charities or helping people out. And that's something that we both wanted to talk about today, is we wanted to highlight a couple of players as far as what they do for others, not in the game, outside of the game, who need a little assistance, and the lengths that they go to provide assistance for people when it comes to charity or different things that they do. Now, Jen, I think there's one player right off the bat that does a lot. And I have a feeling this player's on both of our lists. So why don't you start with the first player that really impressed you when it came to what they do in the charity world?
Okay, so I would like to talk about Sidney Crosby.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
That's my guy, too.
You kind of set that up for us. On my end of things, what I found with him, these are not things that I just know. I actually have to look all this stuff up and do some research on it. So I did some research.
Did you use the internet? Is that still a tool that's out there for the young kids use?
I actually used the Encyclopedia Britannica. No, yes, of course, the internet, crazy person.
For you kids out there listening, there was a time period where if you had a homework assignment, you didn't just turn on a screen and there was the world at your fingertips, right, Jen?
They had these things called books.
Books. And where were these books kept?
At a thing called a library.
And the worst part about it, and I think everyone out there who experienced this as a young person back in the day, was whatever topic you needed to cover in a book report or you were studying for, whatever, you would go to this library and you would never find the book you needed.
Never. And
But
the pages would all be stuck together.
Or ripped out or drawn on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was wonderful. And yet, today, I worry for the youth. We had books. They have the internet, and I worry for them.
Yes, me too.
Anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Proceed with Sidney Crosby, the wonderful person.
Yeah, he is a wonderful person from everything that I've read. He's all about small gestures. Now, we're talking, with his team and whatnot first. He's all about the small gestures behind the scenes. They say he's a really sweet guy. He's a really giving guy. So a little known fact, he's a baker. Apparently, during the pandemic, he started baking. I don't know why. It was just something that he decided to do, and he's been trying to get better at it. And apparently, he makes some very nice banana bread. I think that's cute. So he makes it
some good banana bread.
He makes it for the players and the staff, and he'll bring cookies in, and he is the guy you want as your captain. He's a humble dude. He has taken players that needed it. Not going to mention who, but he needed to get some haircuts done. Took them to get some haircut, picking people up from the hospital, just small gestures that make everyday life a little bit easier for people. But not to mention the fact that he donates meals to food banks. Since 2009, he's been doing the Sidney Crosby Foundation for sick and struggling kids. He provides hockey equipment to underprivileged youth teams, and he makes regular visits to hospitals to see the sick kids. So that's the reason I have him on my list. But I love the banana bread part. Come on. That's just cute. You don't always have a guy like Sidney Crosby somebody like him come in and say, hey guys, I made the banana bread. You know, I mean, that's pretty cool. So I like that. What do you got on Sidney Crosby?
Well, like you said, the Sidney Crosby Foundation is huge.
Yes.
I mean, when you start going down that rabbit hole as far as what they do, I mean, they are involved in everything. Everything. And the beautiful part is Sidney Crosby is based out of like Halifax, Nova Scotia region. He helps out people in that area, but also people around the world too. Now, his organization supports numerous other organizations, including the Churchill Academy, the IWK Health Center and Teen Lodge, Autism Nova Scotia, the Phoenix House, Family SOS, and the Breakfast Club of Canada, where he regularly donates large sums of money, his organization does, to each and every one of these. So he's really spreading out his money. On top of that, he makes personal donations through his foundation, such as, check this out, back in 2010, when they won the gold medal, Sidney Crosby received a $20,000 bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Good. 20 grand, performance bonus, go buy a new watch, go on a vacation, do something like that. No. Crosby donates it to his organization to then donate to somebody else. So, I mean, come on. That guy is just focusing not only on making hockey accessible for kids and like you mentioned before when like Snoop Dogg, he wants to make it accessible to everybody regardless of their nationality, their race, or their financial background. He wants them to understand what a great sport this is that has made his life wonderful and how people can enjoy it through the game of hockey as well, too. Now, on top of that, too, Sidney Crosby has a hockey school. Now, the school provides free hockey instruction to underprivileged children in the Pittsburgh area, helping them to develop skills and learn important life lessons like teamwork and perseverance. You mentioned before about him baking. As far as food goes, check this out. During the COVID pandemic, Sidney Crosby donated 120,000 pounds of food to the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank.
Yep, I read that too. That's good stuff.
I mean, now here's a guy, which there was a number of people when the pandemic hit, stepped forward, helped other people, people with means, helping people without.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those people. He's also just a pretty nice guy in general, like you mentioned. In 2019, he played in the NHL All-Star Game. He was the MVP. Now, usually in the All-Star Game, which nobody really watches, but the MVP wins a car. And Sidney Crosby won a car. You know what he did with that car, Jen?
Tell me.
He did not take it. He took it, he accepted it, but then he donated it to a U.S. military veteran who was in need of a vehicle. I mean, just a nice guy.
Mm.
And the cherry on top is he's a superstar. He's one of the most recognizable names, faces in the league. But when it comes down to, say, the kids or people that, again, are in need, for a game day experience, he regularly welcomes children from local charities to his personal suite at the PPG Paints Arena or where the Penguins play. Sidney Crosby has his suite, and every game there's children from charities in that suite.
He is sweet himself.
He is sweet himself. Did you have somebody else that you wanted to mention?
I did. Theo Fleury, the flower.
Love the flower.
He is an advocate for mental health and trauma survivors. It started with his own mental health. And if you would like to know more about the struggles that Theo Fleury had and why, he did write a book, and it's called, the name of it is Playing with Fire, and it was published in 2009. He dealt with some really heavy-duty stuff. It did affect his mental health. And there's a lot more to be learned via his book. I won't go into the details, but the stuff that he's been through, really moving. He was able to find his way through it and come out the other side. And coming out the other side, he's using his platform to educate, and he has created an anonymous peer support space where you can get help if you're in crisis. He deals with people that have had depression and anxiety, things that he himself has also suffered. His junior hockey coach, we'll say. Additionally, his fundraising. His annual golf tournament has raised over $1 million for Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of Canada. So that's something he's very proud of. And he does a lot of youth mentoring through the Theo Fleury 14 hockey camp, inspiring young players and specifically Indigenous youth with programs. He received the Inspire Award for contributions and participation with Indigenous-related programs. He's retired, obviously. He's somebody that's, as far as my respect level, he's at the top. He's just, with everything that he's been through, the fact that he's made it to this point and he's doing these remarkable things with his platform, I think it's huge. And as you know, mental health and trauma, all of that really is near and dear to my heart. So I feel a common bond with him. I think he's truly just a wonderful, wonderful person.
I agree 100%. Right off the bat, I just want to say to anybody out there listening, both Jen and myself are huge supporters of getting help for mental issues, anything that has to deal with that support, help, discussion, whatever the case may be. And we've always said to anyone out there, don't be embarrassed. It's a tough road, but when you get help, when you have someone to talk to, it makes life a little bit easier. It makes that road a little bit easier to travel. We are big supporters of anybody who supports mental health initiatives. And the Flower's one of those guys.
Absolutely.
Like I said, that story of his is pretty well known. If you don't know it, I highly recommend that you read it, because this is something that happens, unfortunately, in the world today. But we can help each other deal with it whenever we possibly can. And Theo Fleury is at the forefront of that march, if you would. So Theo Fleury was somebody that you brought out who's done some great things, been through some bad things, but came out the other side to where he's helping other people. And he's played for a few organizations, and he actually, if I recall, actually struggled with addiction while he was playing. And then the good part about it, like I said, is he got the help he needed, and he was able to then to help other people. Jen, I think Theo Fleury is a good pick. He was a solid NHL player. Loved him on the ice. He's one of those guys you mentioned before, as far as there's no short guys in the NHL. He's on the shorter side.
Yes.
And he still is a top NHL talent. That's a good one. I'm going to take it a little bit different way, and I'm going to go to an ex-Montreal Canadian. And you may have seen this guy on TV relatively recently, and maybe you follow his social media account, because he's a polarizing figure. He was a great player. Not many people liked him outside of the different organizations he played for, but PK Subban is a very generous human being. PK Subban, the hockey player, was just a talented defenseman. He had speed. He had a blistering shot, and he was fearless. He would throw his body all over the ice, and he would do some pretty amazing things. Now, that kind of rubbed some people the wrong way, but hey, he was an NHL star. He got to the NHL doing what he did, and he never apologized for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back in 2014-15, so he was drafted in 2007, so now you're talking about 7 years in the league. Subban signed an 8-year deal worth $72 million prior to the 2014-15 season. Okay? A lot of money.
That is.
A lot of Canadian money. Now, PK Subban has a foundation. And PK Subban, when he signed that contract, basically pledged at least $10 million to the Montreal Children's Hospital. $10 million? Jen, they're billionaires today. They don't donate that
Yep.
stuff. PK Subban said, I got paid, I got the bag, I'm going to share it. And share he did. Now, the hospital called the donation the largest philanthropic commitment ever made by a professional athlete in Canada. Yeah, that's something I cut and pasted. That's not my own vocabulary right there. Basically, what it means is that he's a really good guy that committed to giving a lot of money, and he signed the check.
Philanthropic.
Okay, there you go. Philanthropic. This is what you contribute to the show. Along with that, PK Subban has also another organization called PK's Helping Hand. And this is a fund that's dedicated to assisting vulnerable families financially hurt by child illness. Child has some kind of illness that requires a lot of medical expense or specialized treatment.
Like a Ronald McDonald House type of thing.
More on the money side, whereas Ronald McDonald House gives you a place to stay and, and all that free of charge. He's actually saying there's a fund that if you meet whatever their criteria is, when it comes to a child's illness and the financial burden that comes along with that, his foundation is there to help. Now, I'm going to kind of transition this because why he's like this is because one of his favorite players in the NHL was a wonderful human being who was also philanthropic. Is that the word?
Philanthropic.
Philanthropic. So the other player who was philanthropic that he looked up to, we're going to move on from that word, was the great Montreal star, Jean Bellevue. When PK Subban made that $10 million commitment to that hospital, Bellevue's wife was there in support of him because he supported the Bellevue Foundation, which is something that Jean and his wife had founded before his passing. The Bellevue Foundation was created after his retirement, and that foundation supports various charities, especially those of disabled individuals and disabled children, where he raised millions and donated millions over the year through the Bellevue Foundation. So you can kind of see where PK Subban, followed in the footsteps of one of his favorite players.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was interesting is when I was looking this up and I said, you know what, I didn't, back in the day, you didn't really hear too much of these older hockey stars in those, say 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s generation. We didn't have the internet, so we didn't know what they did. If it wasn't a news story or it wasn't on ESPN, if it wasn't in the hockey news, we didn't know that. So I started looking into what does the Bellevue Foundation, who do they help? Well, right off the bat, they have a camp. It's called Camp Papillon, and the focus is to support kids with disabilities. And Jean Bellevue actively participated in many cleanup events and renovation efforts in his very own camp. He loved the camp that much and loved what it did and the support and help that it brought. Again, we're shining a light on a great man of the past. He also was very involved with underprivileged children. He started a fund that would be there for underprivileged children when it came to things like education, food, or help dealing with struggles in their life. He was also a community ambassador. He would constantly make appearances for charitable causes. He became a symbol of integrity and giving back, earning him numerous accolades like the award in Canada called the Order of Canada. Now, the Order of Canada is Canada's highest civilian honor that could be dispensed to an individual, and he received it. Now, the Jean Bellevue Trophy is awarded every year annually by the Montreal Canadiens to a player best representing leadership in the community, a $25,000 donation to a charity of the player's choice. Just his name is helping people out, and it's allowing these other players to then donate money and keep his memory alive. His legacy at the end of it was he was known as Gentleman John, making him a beloved figure who inspired many not just to excel at hockey, but excel at life. And this was a statement that was made by his wife when was asked what would be how should people remember him? And I really think that when you move on, if somebody says this about you, what I just read, I think you're doing things pretty right in the world. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say so. So you started out with Piquet Subban.
Yep.
And you
transitioned into Jean Beliveau.
So you got a twofer there.
Well, that's how I roll sometimes.
I got
Sometimes, you know what? You just show up and you never know what you're going to get. That's the beautiful thing about this podcast. You're going to get insight. You're going to get words pronounced very wrongly, even though I speak the language. And it's written on a piece of paper. Still couldn't pull that off.
Philanthropic is not an easy word.
Philanthropic is now my new favorite word. I'm just going to use it whenever.
Okay.
When I'm asked, would you like to supersize that meal? I'm going to say back to them, philanthropically, yes, I would. Okay. I'll work it in. I'll work it in.
This is what I married.
Well, Jen, we've reached the end of episode number 3. We had some fun. We made some mistakes, but we shared some pretty interesting facts. I mean, we shared who we thought players who were blazing and players who were unremarkable. And then we talked about some good guys in the NHL when it came to just being good people, helping other people, whether it's financially or support. Isn't that what this world's all about? We need each other to get through it, and they're really showing us ways they can do it. And it doesn't always have to be with lots of money. Sometimes it's just your time.
Sometimes it's just a smile. You give what you have. We don't all have, and these guys don't have to do this. We can sit here and say, well, they're millionaires. They don't have to do this. There's an awful lot of billionaires out there that don't do anything at all. So the fact that these guys are taking it upon themselves to be the person to change somebody else's life, got to give credit where credit's due.
Credit where credit is due. That's for sure. We're basically going to just remind everybody that if you like this podcast, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. We would appreciate it, because then what happens magically through the magic of the internet, it gets into this algorithm that pushes it out to people where they may be sitting out there going, I wish there was a podcast where somebody talked about philanthropy and hockey. And guess what? This algorithm will push it to them. If you, the good listener, just likes, subscribes, shares it with your friends, you can help that person. And that's what we want to accomplish. So think about giving this time of year. Think about giving in the sense that you're going to give us the like and the subscribe that we really want to get so we can get more people to listen to us when we talk about philanthropy.
You're really letting your dork flag fly.
I'm rolling it now. Let's go. Okay, so follow us on wherever you find your podcast. It could be Spotify, it could be Apple, it could be Podbean, whatever you find it, we are there. If you can't find us, check us out on Instagram at Hockey and Podcast. There's our links to our show. And then you can check out all our pictures and our videos and all of that stuff that the internet provides. We drop a new episode every Wednesday. So every Wednesday, set your alarm and you can hear this wonderful banter coming into your earbuds as we speak.
I think next week I want to do things a little bit different. Let's switch things up a little bit. Let's not say anything about what we're doing next week.
So you're saying to the good listener right now, you can suck it, Trebek. You're going to have to tune in to find out what we're going to talk about next week. I like it. Let's do it. Give them the big old suck at Trebek. I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't go down that road, but okay, sure.
All right. If you're looking to find out what's happening next week, you'll just have to tune in. So I'm Jay. I got Jen on the other side of the mic. Jen, say goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye, wonderful listeners. We'll see you next week.
We will, where we will unveil what our topic will be. So for the Hockey and Podcast, Jay and Jennifer signing off. Thank you for tuning in.
Ciao.
We'll see you real soon.